Hi guys, and welcome back again. So in this video we're going to have a look at the filters 1 and 2 located in this section here. Now first of all, let me just say that we can route, as we know, each oscillator to either filter 1 or filter 2 or a mixture of the two. So let's say we wanted oscillator 1 going to filter 1, oscillator 2 going to filter 2. We now have that routing set up, so you can see there. Okay, so let's reinitialize. So as we know, there are two filters, filter 1 and 2, and they can be routed in different ways. So you can have them in series or in parallel. We're going to come on to have a look at that in a second. We can also link their controls as well. Now, for each one of the filters, we have a separate cutoff and a resonance control that can be set independently. And we can also have different filter modes for each one. So let's change this one here. You can see now we have two different modes, one for filter 1, one for filter 2, and we can change the cutoff and the resonance independently. Now let's have a look at some of the filter types. Now we locate our filter modes by clicking this box here. Let's start off with Perfecto. So Perfecto is a unique algorithm that combines the best characteristics of analog and digital filter types. Let me just take off this modulation routing here so the envelope's not affecting the filter. It's a really nice filter type. Now for each one of our filter modes, we have different ways we can set these up. Low pass, band pass here, high pass and peak. If you're unsure exactly what kind of filters are, how they work, or what all the different filter types are, I recommend checking out a kind of introduction to synthesis, which will kind of help you understand exactly how a filter works. So basically, the filter cutoff is going to determine at which point the harmonics of a sound or a waveform are going to be taken away. And the way we're going to do that is determined from this list here. So low pass, low frequencies pass through below that point. Band pass allows a band of frequencies to pass through. High pass allows frequencies above the cutoff to pass through, attenuating underneath. And peak is going to create a little boost in the frequency range that can be taken up and down using the cutoff control. The resonance basically resonates wherever the cutoff is set. So that's Perfecto. Then Acido is kind of a 303 style. It's a Roland TB303 style filter. Then we have Perfecto, which is kind of like a Access Virus C. Or an Access Virus TI, actually. Then we have Scorpio. Again, this is similar to the Perfecto one, so again, it's combining analog and digital style filters. Pretty resonant, that one. And then we have Combo. This is like a comb filter style. So this creates kind of regularly spaced spikes in the frequency spectrum, which give the filter a kind of pitch. You can do this in different ways. So we have mono plus, mono minus, stereo plus, stereo minus. So we can create positive kind of notches in the frequency spectrum or negative. It changes the sound a little bit, and we have a stereo version of this as well. So mono, stereo, and then stereo minus. And this would obviously sound great modulated as well. And then finally, we have the shaper here. Now, the shaper is filter plus distortion and overload. And although there's nothing displayed here, we have two different modes for this. We have saturate and fold back, which is referring to the type of kind of distortion that's being added. So there you go. So those are different filter types. And as I said, within that, we have different variations. So for example, Acido, we only have low passes. For Perfecto, we have low pass, band pass, high pass, notch. Scorpio, we have low passes, high pass, and a band pass. We know about the comb filter and the shaper. And then, as I said, Perfecto, low pass, band pass, high pass, and peak. And those are going to be the same for the second filter as well, so they're identical. Now, we also have a key track option here. Now, when this is enabled, as in when we have the level up, like so, the filter is going to slightly open as we play higher up the keyboard, essentially. So let's say we had a low pass set up here, and we had no key tracking. Let's take the resonance down a bit. So I'm playing a low note now, D0. Let's octave up. So now at D4, we don't really hear anything. D5, we have silence. Because D5 is above the cutoff point. And unless the filter opens as we play higher up, we're not actually going to hear those higher notes. But with key tracking on, see now we can hear that D5 because in the background, the filter is slowly opening as we play higher up the keyboard. So I think for most applications, you'd leave that on the default that it's set to here. Okay, so the filter balance allows us to determine what we're going to hear. We're going to hear the output of filter 1, filter 2, or a mix between the two. So this is quite useful because it allows us to set up kind of different routings and also kind of ties in with the filter input as well. So let's say we had this straight down the middle here. We would hear both of the two filters. So we could have, let's say, band pass on here, a low pass on here. And if we had an oscillator which was going equally between the two filters, let's watch it down a bit. We would now hear both filters equally. But let's say we only wanted to hear filter 2. We only wanted to hear the output of filter 2, but we wanted to hear filter 1 being filtered by filter 2, if that makes sense. Now we can still hear filter 1 at work. But now, let's put this onto a different low pass. Now with the low pass, we're taking away all those harmonics created by filter 1. We're basically filtering the output of filter 1, essentially. Put it back in the middle. And we hear both of these simultaneously. So you can set it up exactly how you want. I'd say the general routing is either going to be passing through both the filters at the same time or filtering the output of filter 1 using filter 2 by having the filter balance all the way to the right. Okay, so next up we have this link control here. Now when this is enabled, both the filter cutoffs are linked. And if it's enabled and you set the second filter to the middle, the second filter is essentially going to follow the first. But if the second filter is higher or lower than the middle position, it's going to be offset against the first filter. So let's put link on. Place something in here and let's just route this oscillator to be in the middle. So if we take link off, you see even with cutoff 1 down, we can still hear the second filter. If we link them together, we can't really hear that second filter because cutoff 1 is now basically controlling both the two filters. Then the last parameter on here is going to be this parallel button here. Now this is going to switch between parallel and serial filter modes. And when it's activated, the filter is going to be in parallel mode. And that means that the sound, the oscillator output essentially is going to pass through both of the filters simultaneously. Whereas in the default mode of series, it's going to pass through filter 1 and then filter 2. So again, it just depends what you're going for. So if you wanted to have two oscillators passing through two filters and you had it in parallel mode, you could then have these two filters kind of working independently on the output of the two oscillators. Then we had the filter balance set to the middle. You could hear them equally. So you can see that the way that we set up the filter input control here, parallel and series, and also the filter balance is going to determine exactly how you're filtering your sounds. And that is the filter section. So to recap, two filters set up here. Filter input determines how we're going to basically route the output of the oscillators between the two filters. Each filter has its own cutoff and resonance control. These can be linked together so we can actually control both of them using filter cutoff 1. Filter kind of modes here, and then the different filter types are located in the right button here. The same for both of these. We have different types of kind of low pass, high pass, band pass. And then we have a comb filter and also a shaper, like a distortion saturation filter. Key track allows us to have the cutoff opening as we play higher up and down the keyboard. Resonance is going to resonate the filter cutoff. And we know the filter balance allows us to determine what we're going to hear, filter 1, filter 2, or a balance of the two. Okay, so now we've covered the filter. In the next video, we're going to head down and have a look at our modulators. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.